90% of AI implementations actually fail. And I strongly believe that's because everybody just wants to jump on the bandwagon of this trend. They hold those ideas to themselves, to their own chest. We were all looking at commercialization of this technology, but not really looking at how can this help our planet? Once you try to hit scale, you'll need experts. You'll need technical experts. If you really believe in yourself and you take those risks, you will make it. Have grit.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is Shadi Dawi. I'm your host for today's episode of Date with Tech. And today I have a friend and someone unique as well, I can say, with me as a guest. But let me tell you a little bit about Launch Foundry. Launch Foundry is a Dubai-based AI and product studio that turns real-world problems into market-ready AI products. So the team works with enterprises, governments, and investors to find market gaps, rapidly prototype, and build scalable, investor-ready solutions. To know more about all those wonderful services, I am glad to welcome Will Shaw. Will is the founder and CEO of Launch Foundry. Will Snow is a product leader and founder with a background spanning GIS, drones, and digital innovation across Africa, the Middle East, and Pakistan. Before Launch Foundry, he led digital product and e-commerce from the QSR industry, which is interesting, rolling out kiosks, for example, apps and voice AI at scale. Today, he focuses on building practical AI products that are fast to ship, easy to love, and designed for real business impact. Will, good afternoon to you.
Shadi, thank you so much for having me. I know we've been talking about doing a podcast for a while, so I'm glad it's finally happening.
Yeah, it happened finally. Well, first, what is Launch Foundry?
Yeah, Launch Foundry was inspired through really my passion. I found myself probably about over a year and a half ago, where I really have a deep understanding and a love for building products. And I feel like I just had to help people build products. So Launch Foundry was built off of the back of that purpose.
Amazing. What motivated you? The traditional question, but really, and I want to know, what really motivated you to start the business?
In today's world, there's so much happening with transformation and the digital front. And really what I wanted to do was build a product and AI studio, which allowed us to position products in the market. I spoke to a VC once and I positioned my own product with them. And I learned so much in that 30-minute session where, VCs often go and they see 6,000 products in a year.
Yeah.
And they have to really filter through these, applicants. And how do you actually get to something that is a sound product to invest in? It's a really difficult question to ask because there's so many different variables. And with the technology and where it is, what I thought is we could really look for gaps in the market, come up with those ideas and concepts ourselves, and then validate them. And that filters out a lot of the kind of existing things of whether somebody has actually come up with a good idea or not, whether you think the founder is actually going to be giving something viable or they're the right person to become an entrepreneur. We've kind of reversed that, right? So we bring out a product agnostic of any industry. Then we find entrepreneurs that are passionate about that subject and we make them come and run that product line and really enable that passion. So they get equity in the product and we run it along with them.
Great. What type of business problems does Launch Foundry solve?
Yeah, it's a great question. And as I said, we're agnostic of industry. But really, if you think about where technology is today, a lot of companies don't have the foundational structures and as well as governments. Obviously, we're from the Africa industry. So really what we do is we look for setting up the foundation first, because you can't just go from nothing to AI, right? You have to put in those foundational blocks. So we work on making sure we understand how the business runs, putting in the foundational layers, a lot around data. And then off the back of that, we enable the AI layer to come in. This gives the companies a lot more efficiency, guardrails to make sure that they know exactly what they're getting and that they're not going to fail later on. I think there's a lot of articles that say 90% of AI implementations actually fail. And I strongly believe that's because everybody just wants to jump on the bandwagon of this trend. And they're not actually considering, how is this going to help us? What problems is this going to solve? So by doing this starting piece, we make sure that we set up for success later on. And the failure rate is a lot less.
Tell me about your personal career path prior to setting up this business.
Well, I've got a very colorful career path. I mean, in my past, I studied a BSc in entomology and geography, and I got my honors from Rhodes University. But off the back of that, I had the privilege of getting a lot of spatial data and understanding that space. And that's lucky for me. That's kind of where the world's gone. It's gone into data, machine learning. That we did that a lot in the spatial side of the world, using geographical information systems. But really, that led me to my first job in West Africa and Sierra Leone, where I worked on the Addax Bioenergy project. There I was doing social and environmental compliance for the World Bank standards. That was a greenfield bioethanol plant. And from off the back of that, I got into the drone industry. I was building drones. I was crashing drones.
Wow.
I was programming them. That was my first kind of startup that I did. I was very young then. I was 23. And I learned a lot of
Yeah,
lessons.
still young, man.
Yeah, very, very young. And then off the back of that, I went and did remote sensing all over Africa. And I built my first product. And that's where I got my passion for building products. We delivered drone imagery to clients. So we'd go shoot with the drone, we'd process the imagery in the cloud, and then basically have a Google Maps application where we put your layer on for you the next day, which was great. And then off the back of that into business consulting. So I've done a lot of consulting across the different sectors. And then off the back of that into QSR, which ultimately led me to Dubai.
Very interesting. All right, let me ask you this question. What industries, in your opinion, are showing strongest demand for AI driven solutions right now in 2025?
Really looking at what industries need it the most, I still believe there's a massive gap in logistics. If you think about how inefficient we are from moving any sort of supply chain pieces around the world, that's still missing. I think I'd like to see a lot of entrepreneurs come into that space. Yeah, obviously we're at the Care Festival today and the Date with Tech piece. I'm seeing a lot more solutions coming into the sustainability piece, which is great to see. Because if you think about us as humans, we were all looking at commercialization of this technology, but not really looking at like, how can this help our planet?
Yeah, I want to ask you a question and the same. How do you differentiate your studio in a crowded AI ecosystem?
It's around about your team and who you actually team up with. Of course, we're an organization. We've got a CLO, CTO, and myself as the CEO running the business. But really, you need strong people with the right traits. When they come into a business, you leapfrog and you bounce up. So I strongly believe the differentiator is the team that we bring to the table. And then also we're very uniquely placed. We're based out of the DIFC in the AI campus. And that's given us a beautiful platform, obviously provided by the government. And to be very frank with you, I've never worked with a government that is so open to helping you find the opportunities and really enabling you. So we're very well established and we can set up business structures with the team that I've got.
You have a great team.
Thanks, Shadi.
How has Launch Foundry used podcasting as a tool to establish a profile for the business? And where do you see AI product development heading in the next 3-5 years? So two questions, two in one.
I'll answer the first one and then I might ask you to repeat the second one. But the first one, the podcasting, we really stumbled across it. It wasn't something that I expected, but I really just wanted to ask entrepreneurs how they plan to change the world.
You've done a good job in the podcast.
Yeah, thank you. And I actually asked to actually come to the floor and interview people and just ask entrepreneurs how they're going to change the world. Met up with you guys from Trescon Global and Madhu, and he said, actually, we need to do a podcast together. Why don't we do a collab? And that's really where we enabling the date with
one of the greatest things Madhu did, actually.
Yeah. And so it's been really good, and it gives us lovely exposure to C-suite and His Excellencies. And it's been a real nice platform to network from and build our own personal brand at the same time while having a beautiful partnership growing.
Excellent.
The question,
yes,
Shadi?
is about the second part is about AI product development. Where do you see it heading in the next 3-5 years?
Yeah, it's a great question as well. When I think about product development, there's a lot of people that are going out building things, but they don't always think about the problem that they're solving. So I think from a development perspective, it's super important to understand what you're solving off the bat and make sure that it's an actual real problem. Going to a floor and actually asking customers, is this a problem for you? That's really where you get validation. You have to validate for the market. A lot of entrepreneurs and people that come up with ideas, they hold those ideas to themselves, to their own chest. And that's a very closed mindset. If you share that idea, it will grow and you'll validate it as you go. And I think the most important part is actually getting to market as soon as possible, because if you, let's be honest, if the idea is not great, it's better that it fails as soon as possible. if it is a solid idea and you get market traction, then you can grow step by step by step. So I think where I see the industry heading, and obviously we've got AI and all these things playing into it, there's a lot of vibe coding happening at the moment, but it will only get you that far. Once you try to hit scale, you'll need experts. You'll need technical experts. And there's still a massive, not a massive gap. There is an active community of technologists and developers playing into that space. So I think right now we still need developers, we still need tech, we need business people, and they have to work together to ultimately build the right product for the right problem.
Will, any last word you want to say to, entrepreneurs and advice to also startups or to people who are really keen to develop AI products?
Sure. One, get to Dubai. Be present here. This is the fastest growing economy in the world. It is really tech centric. The leadership has really enabled the industry. And number two is believe in yourself. I find so many people don't believe in themselves and they don't really look inside their soul. They have to have the right mindset. Entrepreneur is becoming one is arguably one of the most difficult things to do. But if you really believe in yourself and you take those risks, you will make it. Have grit.
Will Snow, founder and CEO of Launch Foundry, thank you very much for your time. It's been a great pleasure to have you on this episode of Date with Tech, and definitely this wouldn't be the last one. There are a lot of things. There is a lot of things that we will need to discuss later. Thank you very much for being our guest for today's episode at Date with Tech event here in Madinat Jumeirah, Dubai. And I agree with Will. Come to Dubai and start your business here. This is the right place for you to succeed.
Thank you so much, Shadi.
Thank you.
Cool.